What's going on, guys? Welcome back to United View. Hope everyone is doing very well, having a good Monday afternoon, evening, I guess morning, depending on where you are in the world. Let me know where you're watching from in the comment section below. We're back for another Manchester United news update. Now, as you may be wondering, maybe thinking, eagle-eyed viewers amongst you, maybe saying, oh, this is not the full view. The full view is usually Monday, 6 p.m. It is not. You are correct in that assumption, but stay tuned this week because there is plenty of full view specialness on the horizon. Can't say too much what it is, can't spoil it, but those that are waiting for your full view fix, don't you worry, we haven't forgot about it. It is coming later this week, but an extra special international break version that I think you guys are really going to enjoy. So because of that, there is no full view this evening, but there is still some news stories that I do want to discuss if you do want to get into, and I want to give you your Manchester United news fix this Monday afternoon/evening. So we're going to talk a little bit about the second bid coming in for Manchester United from Sheikh Jassim, obviously from Qatar, as the takeover process continues. A little bit about Sir Jim Ratcliffe, Ineos, what we can expect to happen and not happen over the next 2 weeks as this takeover saga continues, and hopefully, the ownership of Manchester United changes hands from the Glazers to a different owner, whoever that may be. So we're going to be talking about that. Plus, we're going to be talking about Marcus Rashford. The one player, certainly, we had kind of hoped for this, and it's, I think, depending on how you look at it, could be considered good news that Marcus Rashford will not be taking part in England's Euro 2024 qualifiers over the next couple of weeks because Rashford has pulled out of the England squad after suffering a knock against Fulham. Now, you may be saying, whoa, injuries, Rashford, what does that actually mean? It might actually be a good thing, so we're going to get into that in the video as well. So be sure to smash a like on the like button, be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner too. Let's start off talking a bit about takeover of Manchester United, some takeover news. And Kaveh Solokol from Sky Sports said Sheikh Jassim will be making his second bid for Manchester United. Now, I'm not going to do the whole impression. Could you imagine this 15-minute video would take 45 minutes? Big up Kaveh, though, as always. I mean, I've got whenever you do impressions of people, you always think, is this nice? I hope that they know it's all in fun. I like Kaveh. Kaveh's a nice guy, and I think he does a really good job for Sky Sports. And he's been, of course, all over Manchester United's takeover story over the last few weeks, particularly really from the Qatar side. He's had some real big stories when it comes to Qatar. Of course, the biggest one really was last week when he was talking about the sort of shift in mentality when it came from Sheikh Jassim and the Qatari bid for United now being willing to overpay to purchase the club, mainly because of how positive and constructive the talks were with Rain and the Glazer representatives and just the Manchester United representatives at Old Trafford and Carrington last week, and just because there's a general feeling that this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Manchester United is not an entity, a club, a business, a asset that comes on the market very often. So when the opportunity is there, you have to pounce on it, and you have to make sure that you can beat any other bidders in the race, and you have to make sure also that you don't put in such a weak offer that, the people that are considering selling the club, in this case the Glazers, say, actually, you know what, we're going to stay. So their shift in mentality has been, once we're willing to walk away if the price isn't right, now that's changed to we'll buy it at all costs. Now, the latest and the newest bit of information from Kaveh Solokol from Sky Sports today has been that Sheikh Jassim will make his second bid for Manchester United on Wednesday evening, that being in 2 days' time at the time of recording. His advisors are now working on putting together a new bid, which is expected to be submitted by close of business on Wednesday. There is growing confidence among bidders that the Glazers are willing to sell the club. Now, that is something that had kind of shifted over the weekend. I kind of touched on this morning during Matchday Reloaded, and it was something that Mike Keegan from the Daily Mail had written yesterday, and it was put up on our social media channels at United View TV on Twitter and Instagram, that at one point there was this kind of reservation from anyone that was kind of involved in this takeover or potential purchasing situation, the exploration of strategic alternatives, as the Glazers had said, and Manchester United had said in that statement last year. There was a bit of skepticism. Are the Glazers really going to sell United? Is this really what it's all about? Or is there a larger plan at play here? Is it about driving up the stock price and then selling off some shares? Is it about buying out their siblings? And what's it all about? Is it about just trying to fish and mine for some minority investment from people like Elliott? Is that what it's really all about? And by all accounts, that has kind of changed over the last week or so. Now that these sort of bigger parties and these people that do have interest in purchasing a majority stake in Manchester United, whether it's the case of Sheikh Jassim, who wants to purchase 100% of the club, remove all debt from it as well, or if it's the case of Sir Jim Ratcliffe, who just wants to purchase the majority shareholding of Manchester United from the Glazers, that being the controlling 69% of the club. There is a general feeling of, actually, after having these talks, having these discussions, yeah, the Glazers actually want to sell. The Glazers are interested in selling, and finally, they're interested and open to be doing business, which had been the line from the start, that they'd be open to selling Manchester United if the price was right, and the skepticism, I think, was also surrounding that their price was very high, and by all accounts, the meetings that took place last week at Old Trafford and Carrington were more about selling the idea that Manchester United were worth £6 billion. It was less about the interested parties pitching themselves to Reign and pitching themselves to Manchester United. It was more about, this is why we believe United are worth £6 billion. Look at the global reach. We've got 1 billion followers and fans around the world. You've got a closer look at the accounts here at the club. You've got a closer look at how we do things here and all that kind of stuff. And you've got a closer look at the assets, at the stadium, at the training ground. Yes, it needs investment, but that's also why we're asking for this price, all that kind of stuff. And by all accounts, not just for Sheikh Jassim, but also for Ineos / Jim Ratcliffe, they were very positive and very constructive. And, you know, it was really after that meeting last week that story came out from Kaveh Solokol saying that they were willing to overspend. So since then, I guess all of the advisors have been discussing and plotting with Sheikh Jassim, and it's going to be really fascinating now, I think, what or how much this bid is going to be for. That initial bid by Sheikh Jassim was the largest one. I believe it was closer to 5 billion, something like that. I mean, there's been quite a lot of disputed numbers, haven't there? And to be honest, it might not have actually been a concrete number. That's what people kind of forget as well. That first round of bidding, David Hellier said it in his interview with Flex from Bloomberg, that, you know, that first opening soft deadline, that Friday, whenever it was just kind of, you know, a couple of paragraphs. I'm interested. This is what I'd be. This is kind of my vision. This is my plan, i.e. I want to purchase the whole club. I want to purchase 69%, or I want to offer financing, a minority investment, whatever. It was kind of that, and kind of, if I were to do a bid, this is what it would be. But, you know, we had these talks now last week with all of the interested parties. There's now, I guess, an understanding, probably from everyone, that the initial bid that they put in will probably be a bit higher. So it's going to be really interesting from all of the parties, how high are they going to go? Because logically, you would think, look, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, we know his bid, or initial bid, was for around, and again, it's not really concrete, but around £4.5 billion. Now, that's considerably lower than the $6 billion asking price. It's going to be interesting to see after those rounds, or that round, the last week's round of talks, if they're willing to go up to, say, 5 or something like that. If we are in a situation, and again, if Kaveh Solokol is accurate and that the Qataris are willing to overspend, and if they put this is my kind of feeling on it at the moment, if they put £6 billion on the table, what are the Glazers going to say? Because that's what they want. If they give the Glazers what they want, you would think it's near enough done, honestly. And the Glazers have been wanting a bidding war since the beginning. And if it gets into that, it's only one winner, because Sir Jim Ratcliffe, Britain's wealthiest man, and this just goes to show the wealth that's involved in these conversations, is Britain's wealthiest man is not wealthy enough on his own. You have to remember too, he's got loans from JP Morgan and another bank. I miss it off the top of my head. I'm sure you'll let me know in the comment section below. But how high can he go? And is he willing to match the £6 billion valuation? Because not many people, one, would be willing to do that, and two, not many people are going to be able to do so. I mean, this would be a world record fee for a sporting franchise. So what we could see, I suppose, in the next maybe 48 hours is we start getting into that domain of exclusivity. And that's kind of the next question mark, I suppose, regarding this, is that are we going to get another round of bids, another round of talks, and another round of more in-depth conversations, or whoever the bidder is, let's say, gets quite close to the Glazers' asking price, do they then enter a period of exclusivity where it's, okay, we're just talking now, you and I are just talking, we're pretty close, we feel that there's a deal that's pretty close here, let's thrash this out and let's get it done. Now, again, people have been talking about getting the deal done by April. It's currently Monday the 20th of March. 11 days away, 12 days away from April 1st. I feel that that's unlikely. But the end of April, beginning of May, again, if we enter exclusivity in the next few days or by the end of the week, then you would think that maybe this one can actually, in principle, certainly get done fairly quickly. So certainly big news that Sheikh Jassim will be making a second bid. It has been also reported that Ineos are going to be making a second bid too. We had heard things about these unnamed other entities that were involved. We haven't heard much more about them, so maybe we can expect to hear more about that, I suppose, as well. And maybe we are expecting things to really pick up pace now. Again, there's no club football for a couple of weeks, so real focus can be on, you would think, from the executive side of things and the finance side of things at United, real focus can be on these takeover talks, these sale talks, and I would expect, and again, this is no insider sources or anything like that, but I would expect to see some real development on this within the next couple of weeks. Again, whether or not we see that, I don't know. But logically, you would think in the timeline of events that have been reported, this feels like we're on the precipice of really getting somewhere with this. So exciting times ahead. I mean, irrespective of who gets it and irrespective of who eventually does purchase Manchester United, exciting times ahead that the general consensus is, the Glazers, they actually want to sell and they feel like they're close to doing it. So here's hoping. Oh goodness me! I mean, I'm so excited. I'm breaking equipment. Here's hoping. The irony is, I did cross fingers and I nearly broke something. That's kind of the opposite of being superstitious, there, isn't it? So here's hoping we actually get some developments about that again over the next couple of weeks. Now, I do also want to talk about Marcus Rashford before we wrap things up today. As I mentioned, it's only going to be about 15 minutes long with this news update. Manchester United released a statement earlier this afternoon saying the following, quote, Marcus Rashford has been forced to withdraw from the England squad. The Manchester United forward sustained a knock during the 3-1 victory over Fulham in the Emirates FA Cup quarter-final at Old Trafford on Sunday. Our number 10 required treatment after being hurt in the build-up to Alexander Mitrovic's opener for the visitors and was later withdrawn in the 83rd minute, with Fred taking his place. Marcus scored his 30th goal for club and country this season when bagging a brilliant winner in the 1-0 Europa League second leg victory at Real Betis on Thursday night. He netted 3 times for England in the World Cup finals, taking his international tally to 15 in 51 caps. After winning the Club and Premier League Player of the Month awards for February, he will hopefully be available to face Newcastle United in our next fixture on Sunday, April 2nd. Rashford misses England's Euro 2024 qualifiers against Italy in Naples on Thursday and at home to Ukraine on Sunday. United defenders Harry Maguire and Luke Shaw remain in Gareth Southgate's plans ahead of fixtures as the Three Lions start their campaign. Tottenham goalkeeper Fraser Forster has been added to the squad in place of Newcastle's Nick Pope, with Chelsea midfielder Mason Mount having also pulled out. Southgate has announced that neither Rashford or Mount, though, will be replaced. So I think this is actually really positive news, and it was something that I kind of had speculated a little bit about in Matchday Reloaded this morning, whereby I would be interested, and I felt that those within United, on the coaching staff and the medical staff, would they be, or even just from the players' point of view, would they be having words with Gareth Southgate and all of their respective international managers and saying, look, I have played so many games this season. I have played more games than the majority of other players in Europe, which is absolutely the case with Rashford and plenty of United players, because they're still in 4 competitions, or 3 now technically, because we won the Carabao Cup. But the point being is they've played more games than most this season. We've seen it as United fans. We've seen our players just look so burnt out, so tired, so lethargic, and just, again, run into the ground. And we really, really, really need this international break just to recharge some batteries for those that aren't involved. And even if they had been selected by their managers, you would think it would be required for them, and again, out of an act of almost self-preservation, to say to their managers, look, I'll come along, maybe I can play 1 game, but 2, I need a rest, and I'll be more valuable to you if I get this rest now, because if I don't get it, I'm going to break down. And from a Rashford point of view, he's been certainly up there for one of the most informed players in Europe this season. I'm not going to say the most informed, but he's right up there this season. And he doesn't need to burn out right now. For the England squad is filled with talent, and you look at the qualifiers against Italy and Ukraine, and look, who knows how England are going to do in that, because Gareth Southgate, I'm not a fan. And I think that the World Cup should have been his last, but that's a conversation for another time. But there's still plenty of other options that should be more than good enough to get the job done there, especially when it comes to Rashford anyway. Remember, this is a guy that he went into the World Cup in form. He was in form at the World Cup as well. And still, Gareth Southgate against France, how many minutes did he give him? Not many. So I bet Gareth Southgate don't really care that much. He's got his favourites. So if you're Rashford and you were talking to Ten Hag and whoever, you'd say, look, I'm just knackered. I'm tired. I can't do it. And it's not even worth me going. I should stay here. I should recover. I did pick up a bit of a knock against Fulham too. This is beneficial for me for the rest of the season. If you want this kind of form and this level of performance to continue, I need a break. So I looked at today's news not as a concern of, oh, how bad is this knock? I'm actually going, you know what? It's a knock. He'll be ready to compete against Newcastle in a few weeks' time. That's what we need him for. But again, I'm happy with it. Honestly, I think that's a good move. I really do. I think that's a good move for United. And again, it's desperately needed. Certainly. Again, how long even is the international break? Actually, just thinking off the top of my head. I mean, I'm saying it's 2 weeks. It might actually be less, isn't it? Let's have a look. So it is 2 weeks, isn't it? These are the kind of things that you can get away with when you're live, but when you're not. So sort of essentially 2 full weeks. We're in week 1, week 2. So absolutely needed. And then honestly, selfishly, I hope more United players, honestly, in the next couple of days, I mean, maybe they're already beginning to fly out. I'm sure they've already gone. But maybe after playing one game for their country, they say to their manager, do I really need to be here for the full 2 weeks, or can I go and recover? Because, again, a lot of these United players, they really need it. They really, really do. So, again, I think it's a good bit of news for Rashford, and the best thing he can do now is recover, get some rest, because he's going to be so important, particularly against that game against Newcastle, which is becoming more and more important when it comes to a bit of a tight top 4 race, certainly. So, there you go, guys. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. A bit of a bite-sized Manchester United news update for you today. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. What are your thoughts on the latest when it comes to the Manchester United takeover news? What are your thoughts, too, when it comes to Marcus Rashford pulling out of the England squad for the upcoming Euro 2024 qualifiers against Italy and the Ukraine as well? What are your thoughts, actually, just thinking about it, now that we're in this international period and we've got just a minute to kind of breathe? What are your thoughts on the season so far? I think there's going to be quite a bit of reflection over the next couple of weeks. Erik ten Hag said so himself, that the next few weeks would be about preparing for the upcoming games, but also sort of reflecting and this crazy second half to the season as well, because it's kind of been insane since the World Cup, playing every 3 or 4 days. And by the way, that's not going anywhere anytime soon. The moment we're back after the international break, we're continuing this frenetic schedule that's not going to stop. So we really need our players to get this kind of rest. I mean, I saw today that George Sampaoli, the Sevilla head coach, manager, whatever you want to call him, he's about to get the sack, which I saw some people say, oh, you know, ridiculous. You couldn't make that up. And I thought, well, you could, because to be honest, it's entirely logical. Sevilla are massively underperforming this season. They sort of scraped through in the Europa League. I think they're 13th in the Liga. Recently, they were even lower than that. Sampaoli is a good manager and should be doing a lot better. And it's the international break. Now's the time to make a change, really, isn't it? If you're not performing well, it's usually in the international break when these kind of changes happen. So, I mean, you could argue it's not the first time that's happened to us when it comes to Europa League teams this season. I think, was it Sharif and who was the other team? Was the team from Cyprus? I forget their name. But it's the team from Cyprus. Neil Lennon got the sack as well, didn't he? Ammonia, that's it. Ammonia got sacked. So it's the third time that's happened for a Europa League opponent for us, which I suppose that's the thing you couldn't make up. But it's hardly a surprise, really, when you look at how Sevilla are doing, or they're not doing very well in the Liga this season too. So plenty of big games on the horizon, but now is the time to really get the head down and recover. But going back to the takeover situation, certainly this is why I think we should expect to see some real movement when it comes to all of the interested parties over the next couple of weeks. So keep an eye on that. And of course, here at United, if we get any more information, or if there's any breaking news stories, we'll go live, we'll chat about it. So be sure to subscribe, bottom right hand corner, click the notification bell. You'll be notified every time we go live or a new video is uploaded. If you haven't already today, check out the tactical view. Statman Cam himself has broken down Manchester United 3-1 FA Cup quarter-final victory over Fulham at Old Trafford yesterday. Of course, now we're going to be facing Brighton in the semi-final at Wembley once more. As as I mentioned, those tuning in for your regular full view fix, don't worry, because there's going to be extra special kind of full viewness coming this week. I don't want to spoil the surprise too much, but that is going to be coming, so keep an eye out for that. And of course, your regular morning shows, Flex and KG show, Red Room, etc. That's all coming, plus some new surprises as well. So a really busy week here at United View. Have a great Monday evening, and I'll speak to you again very soon. Peace.